everybody. My name is Ebuka Tsuba. I am the host, but technically I'm the host in regards to the Zoom meeting. And as we await other people to come in, I would like to thank everybody for coming early. Before we even start and more people join, I would just like to thank everybody that is here early. This is how we know people that are really interested in what we are doing. They come early just so that they can enjoy from the very beginning to the very end of the program. So I want to thank everybody that is here already. As we wait also, I would like to wish everybody a happy Democracy Day. Yes, that's something that we are celebrating today, and that is why we have this program. I'd like to thank everybody again and wish us all a happy Democracy Day. So I think because of the nature of who we are as Nigerians, I don't know if you can hear me. For those people that are here, I think we are only 4 for now, but I'm sure more people will come in. You are welcome to today's program. This is a program organized by Legal Ideas Forum. The president is here, Mr. Njoku Chibueze, and I'm going to be your host for today. I would like to thank everybody again because more people are joining. So as more people join, I'll keep on thanking. Okay, by the time once we get to 10, then I will officially start.
The reason given by the government that Twitter is threatening national security, is threatening Nigeria's security. It will be justiciable if they have they have banned Twitter in October during the NSAS protest. In law, there is a case, the case of Asari Dokubo against FGN, where the court said that national security supersedes fundamental rights. That case was done by Festus Keyamo, and the judge who gave the lead judgment was this renowned judge, Roy Vivals. So if government have said that during the time of during NSAS protest, they made the application to court, or whether they made the application to court or not, they decide to ban Twitter, it will be justiciable, it will be reasonable. But in this case, the reason advanced because Twitter deleted one subscriber account, make them to ban. I don't think the reason is justiciable. And I come for what I heard from Lai Mohammed. They said that Twitter is to register. I actually learned that so that you can have jurisdiction, you can register with CAC, so that in case you feel that Twitter is threatening national security, because they have office here, because they have a registered office here, you can actually sue them to court. They will quote their SSCs. And on this issue of the youth, these are the things we have been talking about right from 1960. But the situation was not so bad in 1960. Most of the leaders we have in 1960, in the First Republic, most of them were very young. Even the president then, the head of state, the head of the Supreme Military Council, Yakubu Gowon, the guy was a bachelor.
Brother, others are raising hands.
Okay.
Others cannot enter.
Okay, let me allow them to speak.
Mr. Destiny.
Okay, let me just round up in 30 minutes. In 30 seconds. In 30 seconds. Most of that time, the youth were given opportunity to also participate actively in the governance of the nation. Number one of the reasons impeding youth to participate in government, you cannot accumulate, is the finance, the gap in finances. That is the one that is limiting youth to participate in politics. Thank you very
much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Obimugo, you've raised your hand. Mr. Chukwuemeka, are you there? We've lost him. We've lost him. Mr. Chukwuemeka?
Yeah.
Yes. Please, you have the floor. You cannot move. Hello. Oh, wow. That's a nice view, brother. I am my question centered on the Nigerian youth. So you've heard what we are discussing. The Nigerian youth and the dilemma in the present day issue of democracy in Nigeria. Vis-a-vis the Twitter ban, you can protest with limitations. Your freedom of speech kind of is impeded. So, what do you think is the way forward for the Nigerian youth?
So who is this question, Jetu?
I refer to Mr. Chukwuemeka.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know whether you are hearing me because I don't know. Hello?
Yes, continue.
Okay. Hello? Am I being heard?
Yes, loud and clear. Just continue because of time.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I wish to thank everyone for being part of this Zoom meeting, and I've been following, because I've been driving. I'm on the road, so as you can see, I'm driving, so I have to park in order to maybe just make few contributions and then move on. I listened to some of you speak about the constitution, about democracy, demilitarization, June 12th, and so on and so forth. I've been listening, even though I muted my video. So my own contribution, am I being heard? Hello?
Your voice is cracking, but
okay. Let me mute my video. So are you hearing me clearly now?
Very well.
Okay, so I have to mute my video because of network, so that maybe my voice can be heard. So now, yeah. So speaking about the democracy today, which is 12, I first of all want us to reflect first on the word democracy, on the meaning of democracy, the etymology, what democracy means, like, looking at it from the jurisprudential aspect of it. You understand? Because jurisprudence is my favorite. It's my favorite aspect of the law that I read, because it talks more on of law. So we have to look at it from that angle. Some people talked about sovereignty of the country, and I ask, who sovereignty belongs to which people? Is the sovereignty belong to the people? Because that is what democracy means. Once you remove that sovereignty from the people and place it outside the people, it's no more democracy. So if democracy is sovereignty for the people, or from the people, then whenever you talk about the constitution must be from, of, and for the people. The constitution itself, because the constitution serves as the foundation of whatever system of governance that you operate. So, and to me, democracy is not all fit size. Democracy is not maybe running a federal system or running a unitary or whatever system, or maybe parliamentary system. Democracy is what the people that is in the land calls it. Whatever the people call the government is what democracy is. For example, I'll give you an example. If you go to Dubai today, you say that Dubai is not practicing democracy? But I don't agree to that. Because the Emiratis, they agree to that government, to the government of a sheikh, ruling over them. If the people, accepted that this is the kind of government that they want, then that is democracy. Because democracy is of the people, from the people, and of the people. You understand? So now, when you come down to Nigeria, when you come down to the issue of Nigeria, and you talk about the constitution, is the constitution from the people? Is it of the people? Is it from the people? Because whenever you see the 1999 constitution, you see we, the people of, when did we, the people of wrote that constitution? There was no time we wrote it. You understand?
Where did we meet?
If you judge, hello?
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm hearing so many voices. Am I still with you guys?
Yes, continue.
Okay, so now when you look at the history, I like looking at history not just from the half view. I don't like looking at maybe from the middle prehistory. I like to look at history from the fullness of it. For example, when you talk about the history of Nigeria, you go back to 1914 when the country was contracted. You understand? So when you go there and and observe the sequence of governance from that time till now, you me anywhere. Whatever we are practicing today is not democracy. Nigeria have never practiced democracy. So that is the reason why we practice democracy. Because if we ever practice democracy, then that democracy must come from the people. There won't be need for protests, for agitations. There won't be need for agitations because there are agitations everywhere. Shows it is pointing to one particular cancer that there was never democracy because people are trying to air their view. People are trying to say, look, this is what we want. There is a kind of country that I want to live in. That country that I want to live in, it is not Nigeria. It is whatever country that I want to live in. I'm not seeing it in Nigeria. I'm not seeing it in Nigeria. So if you squeeze that, my right to existence, squeeze it, and then put in a constitution that I never wrote, that my fathers never wrote, then that means that no problem can ever be solved. That is it. So one of the colleagues who are saying the agitators, they should talk about their representatives. Those representatives, that system of representation, who created it? Are we the ones that created that system of representation? Because we shouldn't just hang it on representation. We should be talking about the system of representation. For example, when you go to the National Assembly, you have more representatives from the north than from the south. Yes. So how do we go about these things? For example, somebody like Abaribe have been speaking mostly what's in our mind, but nobody listens to him in the National Assembly. So how do our representatives make the representatives of other zones to listen to our plight? These are another challenge that we should be looking at. So it is not enough saying that we should tell our representatives to be telling us to go to National Assembly and be saying these are what we want. It is not enough for me because the system of the representation is already rigged. It does not represent really our own representation. That is my own point of. So that is where you will see where the problem is coming from the root, and why the agitators or maybe the people that are agitating have lost confidence in the so-called representation, because the representation doesn't come, the system by which the representation was created didn't come neither from them nor from their fathers. What it should do, any reasonable government, any reasonable government should do is to sit down and call these people. What do you want? That's the reason why I respected so much Goodluck Jonathan, because Goodluck Jonathan called a national meeting. What do you want? What kind of country do you want to be? That is what pure democracy is. For the first time, we would have had the first democracy, but it was truncated. It was truncated by, we all know what happened. But for the first time, had it been that, that national conference was, was implemented, we would have, at least for the first time, have a test of what democracy is. Whatever that we are having is not democracy. Because we must look at that constitution that is the backbone of the so-called democracy we are talking about. We must look at that constitution. It is. Because you cannot be telling me that the constitution supports democracy or the constitution is written for me when you are on the other clause, when you are on the other clause protecting, some people with immunity clause. When you look at, I think, is it section 6 or something like that, when they were talking about, the prerogatives, like that the government have so much power to even to, it is, I don't know, the way it was constructed, if you read real meaning into it, you will see that your rights, those things that should come to you, will be coming from the benevolence of whoever that is in power. Benevolence is not just from your right, from his benevolence. Like if he wants to give you, he will give you. If he doesn't want to give you, he will not give you. That is what that section was implying. You understand? So these things cancels whatever democracy is, because it gives so much power. It rests so much power on one person. Now, philosophically, I will just look at democracy once more from like a bit of philosophical point of view. When you talk about Western democracy, because what we are actually operating is a colonial legacy. If you look at history, you know it. When you look at the Western democracy, that came from the Roman republics, the Greece democratic philosophy. When you look at all these things, you will see that aspect of Leviathan. I think Holmes that talked about it, the Leviathan. He talked about the Leviathan, whereby a group of people gathered and carry all their rights and give to one person, who in return gives them protection. In my own space, in my own land, I'm an Igbo person, because whatever I'm speaking, I'm first of all an Igbo man. So I'm an Igbo man, I will speak like an Igbo man. So in my own area, in my own land, our own democracy, our own definition of democracy is not the Leviathan type. It is not the Leviathan type. We don't have that kind of Leviathan kind of democracy, whereby a group of people gives one person, a power, and then in return gives democracy. Our own democracy starts from the bottom up, from the grassroots, from the family. That is the reason why we always hear this terminology of that Igbos, they don't have kings and so on and so forth. That is where it comes from. Our own democracy comes from the bottom up, not from the top to bottom. So, and now, when I now jam a kind of democracy that comes from top to bottom, then you now see that my own ideology of democracy clashes with a foreign kind of foreign ideology of democracy, and by doing it, there must be effect of it. There must be effect. There must be agitations, because it doesn't represent my ideology. It doesn't represent my cosmology. It doesn't represent my philosophy. You understand? So, looking at our problem from this cosmological and ideological perspective, you will now see that the way that I want to exist, the way I define existence, might not be the way a Northerner or Yoruba man defines existence.
Mr. Chukwuemeka,
we can. I might.
Mr. Chukwuemeka, we will get back to you in a jiffy. Hello.
Okay.
Please, we'll get back to you in a jiffy, so that we have order lined up. Thank you very much. I was speaking. We'll get back to you in a jiffy. Just let's hold on. So far, I've been calling, but I didn't know I muted my call. So I would have stopped you around 3 minutes ago, but it's okay. We are getting it. So far, thank God we are all youths, and the various youths of the various nations that make up the country Nigeria. So I'm happy we are having this discussion. So so far, we are all agreed that we need, the first speaker agreed that if there is a need, there are some people that have some issues, government issues against them, that they have to address it to their representative. And you said that the representatives are not representing. Some of them are playing psychopaths. Some are using their platform to gain gifts from the government. So it all boils down to the constitutional review. You highlighted that the people did not agree to sign the document. At least I had it's a kind of a shift down from 1973 military decree. That military decree was made to 1999 constitution. So that's where we are today on the constitutional review. Then the constitutional review has so far within the years brought up the issue of sovereign national conference and other allied discussions of how we are going to do this. During the Jonathan's regime, Jonathan, however, was very clear and decisive that the issue of sovereignty of Nigeria should not be touched in that conference. And I believe that is a very important and distinctive feature that might that made that forum not conscionable. So today, as the youths, we know the heartbeat of the nation. So our problem, our issue now is constitutional review or a new constitution. We know the South African appetite and how it went. We had a different constitution. So I'll be directing my question to Mr. Adamu. He has raised his hand. Mr. Adamu, so what do you think is the way forward in this issue of the various issues? So how do you say are we going, is constitutional review the real powers we the people? Thank you very much, Mr. Adamu. You have the floor. Mr. Adamu, please.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to answer this very vital question. We should not discard the constitution, but rather we should review it and address its weaknesses. As I always say, the issue of democracy and Nigerian youth is very important issue that Nigerian youth should understand that until and unless they keep politics of presidentialism, ethnicity, religiosity, and whatsoever aside, harmonize themselves and launch their own political campaign against incumbent administration through constitutional means, that's the only way we can get out of what we are now. For me, I think the issue of this constitution, I think the constitution, although it has some lapses and problems, but it is good. We need only to review it and address some shortcomings that the constitution has. The problem, we are the problem, not the constitution. As one of the hosts said earlier, for instance, on the issue of Malami that declared whoever violated Twitter ban will be prosecuted, is it the constitution that allowed him to say that, or is the person in charge of managing the affairs of people? You see, it's the people that are steering the affairs of the country are the problems of the country, not the country. There is popular saying that Nigeria is good, but the people of Nigeria, they are the ones that are bad. Likewise, the constitution is good for me. Although, as I said, there is some challenges that we need to address, but the constitution needs only to be reviewed and insert some issues that we need to put inside it. The youth should understand that the issue of this country will not come to an end unless they harmonize themselves, they launch campaign, they have their own political party, they keep ethnicity, religiosity, regionalism aside and come together to rescue this country. For me, this is the only way that we can get out of this tragedy and launch this country into the advanced phase, into the sense of advanced countries. Until and unless the youth also become self-dependent, we should not rely on these politicians that they are using our youth always to get their own political position. You can see we are always agitating for, in once a youth get an opportunity, he will use all this aside, harmonize ourselves and then launch our own political parties, and then we will get access to all these positions so that we can bring the change we are agitating for. But if we refuse to do this, I give you assurance that never this country will never get out of where it is. Access to that position and use it for their own benefits. And the youth themselves also, once you have faith of organization as youth, he will go to the politicians in peace and opportunity for his own personal gain also. This is our problem. We have youth mobilizations, we have youth movement across the country. What's the problem? They are going to the politician, seeking their cooperation, and the politician will use them as their political tools for gaining power. So until and unless we keep all this aside, Nigerian youth keep all that ethnicity and whatsoever aside, that is when this country will be rescued, and that is the time when we will launch the country into the space of advanced countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adamu. I'm very grateful for the wonderful contribution.
It's a very powerful solution.
Not the constitution. There are problems in the constitution, but majorly the problem is ours. So, and that is why we are. That's the beauty of this discussion. We are the youths. As of 1965, most of the people that took leadership are our age mates, and they did that well. And I believe with this makeup of this room and with the openness, there is a very good way to go. Either as a good one Nigerian country, or a wonderful United Nations in Africa. So, and with good brother relations. So these are very wonderful things. So the constitutional review, you highlighted meeting the official means. So far, the official means in the forum, we have discussed that most of the time, the official means is not feasible. For example, few years ago, there was the need of a Southeastern Development Commission. During the due process in the House of Assembly, it was put to vote. It was put to vote. Then, based on the inadequate percentage of the makeup of the National Assembly, most of the times it depends a lot of lobbying and not issue lobbying, and not even the real interest of the people is discussed there. So that Southeastern Development Commission was shouted down with no reason about it. And the people that sent the delegates there were not represented actively. So based on and this is how constitutionally it is. So there are certain roadblocks following certain due process. However, I want to look my brother who just came in. I don't know, Mr. Maruf. Before we were discussing the issue of secession. The issue of secession is not really. For some times in my life, I was a Zikist. And one of the principles in Zikism is that Zikism did Mr. Zik Azikiwe did not allow the clause of secession to be included in the First Republic Constitution with his various reasons. So this is noted. So, but however, I am Mr. Adamu, as a lawyer, what do you think about in certain situation, couldn't the National Assembly use the doctrine of necessity to issue certain things that are not in the Constitution, like secession or referendum? Please, Mr. Adamu, I will love you, and Mr. Adamu, sorry to drag you back. The doctrine of necessity, and I will love after 3 minutes, 2 seconds, to Mr. Olamide to give us more enlightenment on the doctrine of necessity, how it couldn't it be effected because it was very useful during when the Southern Cameroonians left Nigeria. Doctrine of necessity was affected, and also during when Middle Belt had their own region. And so, what do you think about the doctrine of necessity being inserted in this discourse? Thank you, brothers. Mr. Adamu.
Hello?
Hello?
Sorry?
Thank you, brother. We are listening to you.
Can you highlight it in synopsis? What do you want me to say? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you have a talking about the doctor? We are talking about the constitutional review now.
Okay, yes.
The constitution has certain lapses.
Of course.
So far, some people have argued that the representation is not adequate in the National House Assembly. Now, certain issues like referendum, secession, are not in the constitution. How do we begin that? And the issue of the doctrine of necessity that Nigeria pledged during the Southern Cameroon when they left Nigeria, and also during the creation of the Middle Belt. So, what do you think? How do you think, is it feasible in the present day Nigeria, or how do you think it can answer to the issue of constitutional? I give just 3 seconds, and then I'll believe Mr. Maruf Olumide will also do more like that.
Thank you so much for bringing me back on this issue. My point of view on this issue of secession and referendum, as it happened during Donna Eva, I think those that are agitating for the secession should understand that when we are united, we will be more strong. Nigeria should remain one, and the power sharing should be constitutionally implemented. Our problem is that especially elites or northern people take the advantage of their demography to hijack the central power. For me, that is why I'm agitating for fiscal federation, where regional unit of the country will be powerful, or at least the power will be balanced power between the state and the federal government, so that all that are agitating will decline their agitation. Because here is that the problem. For instance, if you take at the Niger Delta Commission or whatsoever that Eradua created, there are a lot of issues that federal government are allocating a lot of money to them. But the problem is that their elites are siphoning money to their pockets. So the masses are not saying anything. Therefore, they must agitate for justice. But the problem, although, as I said, they have environmental challenges, a lot of environmental challenges that federal government must look at it and address it. But they should understand that their elite also are very corrupt. They are the one that's siphoning the money. Look at the issue of recent when they have been presented to the National Assembly on the issue of that 40 billion allegedly siphoned by the commission. So this is the problem. They should send good representatives that will serve their interests. They should also ask their traditional rulers. They should also, federal government, provide necessary things that the region needs so that they can be accommodated in the Nigerian system. Actually, for me, I'm not recommending for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lomide.
But if option to continue for this endless agitation, you have to understand that the agitation is endless. Since colonialists, we have this issue of minority here. Okay, so for me, if they have followed all these means and it failed, there is no way. Then they should conduct the referendum. Is okay. So
all right, can I speak now, moderator? Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Mr.
can I
Olajide.
speak now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. You see, the first thing I would love to say here is that, cutting off the head is not the best way of treating a patient who is suffering from headache. I understand the plight of those who are agitating for breakup, but then I think we need to go back to the history. Those who took over from the whites after independence, they understood the fact that and the advantages that every Nigerian would benefit in our staying together. In fact, it will shock you to know that the first unification decree was drafted by Professor Ben Nwabweze under General Rossi's government. You understand? The first unification decree. So our leaders, or those who took over from the whites, they saw reasons for staying together. You understand? Those who are aggregating for breakup or that they want to go. You see, that's I said it in my speech earlier that this country, if truly we mean well for ourselves, all hands must be on the deck. We have to understand the fact that we will tolerate ourselves, we will manage our differences for us to live peacefully and live together. The IPOP, the Oduduwa Republic, if you examine the reasons why all this agitation, you will discover that what is responsible is just bad government. That's all. That's all. If you put me in a house and I'm enjoying myself, there is light, there is everything, you have right to complain to you. But if you put me in a house, there is no light, there is no food, there is no water, won't I complain? So this agitation for breakup should be a kind of catalyst to the government to understand the fact that the Nigerians are not really happy with the way things are presently. That's just all. And in solving this problem, it's not by sending missiles to go and kill people or by sending battalions. No, that will create more problems. You understand? You don't solve one problem by creating many problems. It will be suicidal to everybody. Everybody. Because it is now, if this agitation continues, only God knows what will happen in the nearest future in this country. I'm telling you. So I think what the government should do, those who are clamoring for breakup should go to the history. We need to live together. We have the Igbos in the north who are doing well with their businesses. We have the Hausas in the Igbo land who are doing well. We have Yorubas in the north. We have the Yorubas in the Igbo land. And everybody is fine. So if the government is good, and that is what we are saying, we need the government that would not be biased. You understand the point?
Thank you very much, Mr. Olamide.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful discussion, and at least we are understanding ourselves. The issue really is about real dialogue, and so far from Mr. Obimugo, he is talking about he was talking about dialogue writing from with the cultural idiosyncrasy, because we came from somewhere. And
yes.
Back to the First Republic, I love how they organized themselves. I remember during the First Republic, the Western Nigeria had a House of Chiefs, but the Eastern side didn't buy into a House of Chiefs because it was anti their culture. And it brought out representation, because I was reading a book yesterday from Professor Isiche. She emphasized, and I quote, that the protracted discussion of the Igbo made it hopelessly for the colonial rule because it made it protracted discussion in conversation for Igbo, made it hopeless for the colonial. That is how it was for them because they had a representation of the egalitarian society. So, and this issue, the beauty of Nigeria is that we have not discussed the beauty in our diversity. Because if we experience the beauty in our diversity and solidify on it, that's where the beauty is in. So the Igbo hopelessly, because my brother, Mr. Damu, said they should try to go to the traditional ruler. For example, in my town, last 2 weeks, we are getting another problem because we don't used to have a king. But now we decided to have a king, and now we are getting two factions. One faction is saying you are not my king. Another faction is saying you are not my king. It's a very serious problem that will arise from my town. And now, who is the person that will I say that is my traditional ruler? But within us, we know there are the headman. When we discuss the common law in Nigeria, at least within that context, you understand how the Igbo democracy works for them. So the beauty of Nigeria is not in not handling the diversity we have. It is a wonderful project. We see it in Dubai. When you go to Dubai, you see the Emiratis. They have made maybe almost 4 Emiratis. The Charger, the Dubai, the other 2 Emirates. But every of them it has a decentralized figure. Dubai is more of international trade. Charger is more into manufacturing, and you see the beauty of United Arab Emirates. They understood each police. I remember traveling from Dubai to Charger. Once I crossed the toll gate, it charged me. I knew I was in another city, but the United Arab Emirates, every place. So the fiscal federalism we are advocating is the issue, and this will lead every Nigerian to understand the uniqueness in our life. Pardon, please. This session will, because this is our first session, it is not paid. It is a free session. It will go out in 8 minutes. We will still log back. But I know the next time, so 8 minutes, this section will log out. So we'll still come back to begin it. So I know in the subsequent section, we will have more supporters so that we have a paid subscription so that we can last maybe 1 hour or 2 hours. So I love this forum. So we are now recording, going back to how are we going to form a physical federal state, a true federalism that have a weak center but a strong regions. Some people say that we go back to a 1963 constitution, but we should know that also that 1963 constitution has its own demerits. So what are we going to do, at least before this session ends? Mr.
Yeah,
I was supposed to have this question to Mr. But he has already left. So we are only 5 in the room. So we go again. Mr. Damu, so you can chip in. Then Mr. Maruf can then talk. And we then go back to Mr. Ebuka so that he can round up the session. I believe in our subsequent forum, our subsequent program, we will be more prepared, and also we have set down technicians to handle it, because even this is my first time of having this Zoom. So, but it's a wonderful app. So, Mr. Adam, how do we? So, how in a true federal system, considering the hurdles in the present day Nigeria, you cannot talk because you might be interpreted. Like in my state now, I'm in Anambra State. My mom just called me this morning. Chijoke, where are you? Don't go out. The whole place is not else will be labeled IPOB ambition. I told my mom nothing is happening, but I'm in my house today. So from the youth and find a compromise ground. Thank you, brother. Mr. Damu or Mr. Elamide, anybody? We are only 5 here.
Thank you. Well, I think what we need to understand, and if I don't know if there will be a communique after this program, because one thing I always like to say and to re-emphasize is that even if we have true fiscal federalism, the system, it is not enough. Even if we have a new constitution, it is not enough. If we amend the existing constitution, it is not enough. Somebody said something about the spirit of the constitution and the letters of the constitution. The spirit of the constitution is the wills of the people. You understand? Not until
Yes.
we do self-amendment, and that is the basis of the problem. As Nigerians, we need to go back. We need to talk to ourselves first. Let me talk to myself. Let me have that determination that today I want to live a genuine life. I want to help my country by respecting the rights of others. I want to be truthful. I want to be honest. I want to be patriotic to my country. If we don't have that self-determination first, my brothers, we're still going nowhere. Even if you have, if you invite the American expert to come and draft your constitution for you, you have the best constitution in the world. With this present crop of leaders in this country, I'm telling you, we'll still come back to say, no, this constitution is not people-oriented. We need another one. Like that. So there's need for us to address ourselves. There's need for us to go and amend, to remove the selfishness in our ideologies. As a Yoruba, I need to talk to myself that the Igbos are not my enemy, the Hausas are not my enemy. I need to understand the fact that an Hausa man is my brother, and Igbo man is my brother. I have to be good to everybody before we have the law. So people are just touching the constitution, the law. The law is not a problem. Even if we have the most worst law in the whole world, and we Nigerians are good, I'm telling you, we'll be one of the leading countries in the world. Spiritually speaking, it's not about the law now, it's about the people that would operate the law. You understand the point that I'm making? And that is why we are appealing to every Nigerian that what 100 of Nigerians will eat, a single man should not be matching that thing to himself or herself alone. I know this food, I cannot finish it. This food is meant for 100 Nigerians. How will I be saying I have to eat it and keep it for myself alone? Not until we remove that philosophy, we're going nowhere. I'm sorry. Because that is the spirit of the people that we are actually talking about, that will supersede the letters. The letters of the constitution, we have the law, don't do this. But it is not enough. See, okay, supposing we have the best law, and the law is saying nobody should go out by 10 p.m. in the night. As a Yoruba man, if I have a Yoruba as a president, and if I violate that law, you can say, okay, this is my brother from Southwest, leave him. You understand? That is the problem. That is the problem. When you see some people as sacred cows, and you see some people as scapegoats, then there's bound to be a problem. That's the basis of the. That's why if you go to developed countries, even without police officers, without traffic, you see a white man will stop. The moment there is light, stop light, a white man will stop. In Nigeria, with light, with every police, with ammo tank, a Nigerian will not stop. So are we not going to blame?
Brother.
Yes. Are we not going to blame the law or we Nigerians? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maruf. I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Mr. Damu, you can wrap up so that we go back to the president so that he take the floor and give us a final vote of thanks.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to round off on the issue. You are talking about true federalism, and that issue of fiscal federalism. First thing that we need to understand is that the concept true federalism is a relative concept and also manipulative. What I mean by this, what may be federalism for someone may not be true federalism for the other. Actually, what we need to understand in Nigerian context here is that, as you said, fiscal federalism in the country by balancing the power between the federal and the state governments so that the tension will be low. The issue now actually that is rising because the power has been centralized and that everybody try to take the advantage of that centralization to control the center. But once the power has been shared equally between federal and state government, I think everybody will stop agitating